I went to a small liberal arts college outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I was one of a very few handful of Jews. My best friends in university were almost all lapsed Catholics and off the derech evangelicals. I don't know what they call that. They came from mostly Michigan and a little bit of Pittsburgh, and I was not the very first Jew that they had ever met, but I was the first serious Jew that they got to know well. And as our friendships deepened over time, I invited them to come spend time celebrating our holidays with me. So a few of them took the drive with me for the Chagim, and because, thank God for him, Adam Sandler, they know all about latkes and dreidels and gifts on Hanukkah, and they were very supportive and also completely baffled about what I could and could not eat in the cafeteria most days, but especially on Passover. But there was one factoid, one holiday they knew all about before I had to tell them a single thing about it. It was, of course, Purim. What did they know? That's the one you have to get drunk on. Now, in retrospect, as a rabbi, I should be thrilled. I have spent the better part of a decade teaching Talmud to people from all walks of life. And here is a section of the Talmud Bavli that is not only apparently familiar to every single Jew, but the entire Gentile world seems to know it as well. Amar Rabba Machayev Enosh Lavusame Befruya Adelo Yada Ben Arur Haman Levarach Mordechai. Who knew my Catholic friends have such great Aramaic? Megillah 7b, Rava teaches a person is obligated to become intoxicated on Purim until they do not know the difference between cursed is Haman, blessed is Mordechai. So many people know this teaching. I don't think many people know about this teaching. Why does Rava say it's so important to drink on Purim? Well, in order to understand why Rava feels this way, we actually need to leave Purim behind for a moment and turn to the subject of wine. Wine, as you may have heard throughout your time, is a symbol of none other than Jewish joy. It is used to sanctify and enhance every single joyful moment that we bring holiness into. Does a child come into the covenant? If yes, we bless the wine and raise a l'chaim. Is it the joy of Shabbat and Yom Tov? Let's sing Kiddush. Do we have a wedding? There's so much joy to be had here, we're going to offer up 2 cups of wine. But the rabbis are also aware that while wine is a symbol of Jewish joy and celebration, its consumption is not always a positive thing. The Mishnah teaches in the name of Rabbi Eli that a person's character is judged in 3 ways: by his business, by his anger, and how he handles his cup, which is to say, how he holds his liquor. The book of Proverbs states, do not ogle red wine. In the end, it bites you like a snake and spits like a basilisk. And elsewhere in the Talmud, it is taught in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak that wine reddens and whitens the face of the wicked people. When does it redden them? When they drink it in this world. And when does it whiten them? When they are ashamed in the world to come. So, acknowledging that the rabbis have mixed feelings on drinking, let's return to the big question. Why does Rava feel like we need to command a moderated substance in great amounts on Purim? Our later commentators have 3 major theories. The first is a quote from Rabbah elsewhere in the Talmud where he says, wine and good smells make me wise. And later the Talmud continues, when wine enters the world, secrets emerge. Which leads the commentators to say that Rava, and those who think like Rava, view drinking good wine as a net positive. It enhances joy, it gives great wisdom, and it even allows divine secrets to enter into the world. So on Purim, every person should indulge. This is the day, after all, where we flip things on their head. Everything should be in moderation, right? Including moderation. Excess is allowed on Purim if it adds to joy, and there is no deeper meaning to his statement than this. That's opinion number 1. Number 2, is actually where the halacha finds itself in the Shulchan Aruch. Here, the Ramah, which is Rabbi Moshe Isserlis, comments that one is not actually obligated to drink this much, so much that you're insensible, that you can't tell the difference between evil Haman and righteous Mordechai, but rather, quote, you should drink more than you normally do. That way, you will fall asleep, and while you sleep, that's when you will no longer know the difference between wicked Haman and righteous Mordechai. And the rabbi continues to say that really your only halachic obligation on Purim is to drink a little on the 14th, a little on the 15th, and to be happy on those days, as is our custom, which is to say, if you're normally the kind of person that has a nightcap, make it a little stronger. If you like to have a glass of wine, you can finish the bottle. And if you're the kind of person that doesn't normally drink at all, raise a bissel l'chaim, just a little bit, and everything in moderation. It's not ignore moderation, no. It's just a little more than you would normally take part in. And now for our final theory, which is remarkable and requires a significant deep dive into the Talmud. Here, Rava explains through hundreds of pages in multiple commentaries on Mordechai that he is not the man we think he is. That Haman and Mordechai are not opposites, but they are both troublemakers, and they are cut from the same cloth. Rava argues, for instance, that Mordechai and Haman are both wine butlers. They're both serving wine at the idolatrous feasts of Achashverosh. In another section of the Gemara, Rava argues that Mordechai chose to move to Shushan. He was not exiled like the rest of the Jews of his day. He continues reasoning that Mordechai, his big moment is refusing to bow down to Haman, but according to Jewish law, there's no problem there. The problem would be worshiping Haman. Nothing bad would have happened to Mordechai if he had just bowed down. People bow down all the time. And since the demand was never to worship Haman, Mordechai incited violence against the Jewish people for no reason. His case continues. He does not see Mordechai as an exemplar of righteousness. No, he paints him as a hypocrite who, by integrating himself first into Persian society and then making a big stink by refusing to bow down to Haman, he put all of us in danger, the entire Jewish world. And it's only because of God's benevolence that the Jewish people were saved, both from Haman and from Mordechai. So why do we drink on Purim then, says reason number 3? Because it's only by drinking enough wine that you'll have the wisdom and finally the courage to realize this. Wake up, everyone. Mordechai's the bad guy all along. Needless to say, Rava's argument has neither found itself in the thousands and thousands of years since it was written to be particularly persuasive nor widely accepted. And yet somehow, his first teaching, that one you all know about drinking until you can't tell the difference between good and evil, that one persists year after year and is a cultural touchstone. It's a funny thing what little bits and pieces of our tradition escape the Talmud and make their way into popular conversation, both Jewish and universal. So Purim ends at sundown here in Toronto, but it continues, of course, through Motzei Shabbat in Jerusalem. So next year, remember, when someone turns to you and tells you how important it is to drink on Purim, you will know who wrote that story: Rava, the great saintly rabbi, and the original Mordechai truther. Chag Purim Sameach. For a few more minutes anyways. And Shabbat Shalom.